Here in the top of the first, Michael Woodworth and Gio Diaz with consecutive singles. Then Mariaga and Tapia back-to-back strikeouts. Woodworth breaks for home. The throw in, not in time! Michael Woodworth with a straight steal of home! A little excitement on the base paths as the RailCats take the game's first lead. Oh my, Michael Woodworth. An A-plus IQ play. He caught the Saltdogs battery napping, and the RailCats steal a run quite literally.
Hello, RailCats fans, and welcome back to another edition of RailCats Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Savage, and this is Thrush. He's joining me today. He decided that he wants to join me. Actually, we're trying to wean him in on dealing with the other animals in the house, so he is stuck with me while the wife takes a shower so the dogs don't bother him. So it's been interesting while me trying to set this up because he's clawed up my back a couple times. That kind of hurt. Yeah, so he could be your entertainment while you listen to me talk. That's fine too, or he's just go off and doing his own darn thing. And if I just screech for the random point of it, it's probably because he got me in the back like he's doing right now. But anyways, what are we here today to talk about? We are here to talk about the third consecutive series win for the RailCats. And this is you know, we don't want to call things patterns, but it's looking like a pattern to me. It's you lose opening day, or you lose the opening day series, the opening game of each series, and then you go off and win the next two. And you know what is something that is so weird about that is that with the RailCats now being 6-3 and losing 3 games on the opening series game, you know who hasn't been in the lineup for those games? Gio Diaz. And what happens when Gio Diaz is in the lineup? The RailCats win. Now, I'm not saying that's a pattern or anything like that. I'm just saying maybe you should probably keep Gio Diaz in the lineup. Is what I'm trying to get at. He made a heck of a catch in center field yesterday. Seeing him out there, I was surprised that he wasn't a DH role and he was out in the field, which, hey, they just have to find a spot for him. I think he's just, yeah, he does. He got a double today, I believe. He drove in, ended up being a single. I think he got two hits in this game, or no, two hits. I'll have to go into the full mode in that one, but I'm just saying maybe we should keep him in the lineup. I'm just saying maybe just keep him in the lineup. But it's just the same, you know, looking back at Friday's game, it's the same thing. That, you know, Harrison Francis only pitched 3 1/3 inning. He gave up three hits, 3 runs, 2 earned, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts. His pitch count was really high up there. So I want to say, you know, it was just a pitch count that got to him at that aspect of it. Because looking at it, he, you know, through 3 1/3 inning, he pitched 81 pitches in that aspect. So I'm not necessarily saying that, you know, I think the offense is one of those, like, the offense just kind of goes, all right, we're not doing anything. Like, that's not, I mean, yeah, you only pitched 3 1/3 inning. That doesn't look good on the stat chart, the statistics. But I'm just saying that if that's going to be a rough day for Harrison Francis, which I don't necessarily think that's going to be, these pitchers are going to have rough days. And I'm not saying the starting pitching looks really, really good. I'm just saying that I'm not, you know, a lot of people are down on the rotation, and I just don't think the rotation is going to be a fault in this team. I think some of the fault in this team is when the offense isn't clicking, it's just not going to click, and we're going to run into games like it happened on Friday's game. Like I said, I didn't really watch much of the game. I got to watch some of the game. Over the weekend, I had my nephew's birthday party, so I was able to watch majority of yesterday's game, but all today's game. So I'll be focusing a little bit more on today's game just because I was able to watch it a little bit more. Just kind of going off of what it felt like and looking at the statistics and, you know, stuff like that. So let's just look at the RailCats pitching stack here. Harrison Francis went 3 for 1, gave up 3 hits, 3 runs, 2 earned, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts. His ERA is now at 2.16. And then Adi Nunez pitched. And I think this was what Lamar Rogers is expecting from Nunez here, is giving him 3 and 2/3 innings, only giving up 3 hits, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts, not giving up a run. That was by far his best outing. Being able to watch what I did watch, he looked very impressive. And then Yohan Valdez came in, and he gave up 1 hit in 1 inning and 1 strikeout. So I think that was better sight for them. I think the pressure might be pushing down a little bit. And, if that's what it takes to get them to pitch better, that's what it takes to pitch it, or the pressure behind it is what it's going to take. Just looking at the fielding aspects here, Woodworth went 1 for 5. Lingua went 1 for 3, 1 RBI, 2 walks. Jesus Mariaga went 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. Tapia went 0 for 4 with the strikeout. Castillo went 2 for 4. Valdez went 1 for 4. Nova went 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. Sam Abbott went 1 for 3, 1 run, 1 walk, and 2 strikeouts. I'm looking at, my bad, not RBIs. I'm looking at runs differently. Yeah, he did score 1. That was the only one to run the game. And then Marco Hernandez went 1 for 3, 1 walk. Nothing too crazy. Lingua's the only one that drove in a run, and he got a stolen base as well in the game. It was one of those games that the first game of the series, I don't know what it is, but they just can't push through. So I mean, it kind of is what it is on that aspect of it. Now he's climbing a suitcase. So yeah. Josh Roeder gets the win for the Salt Dogs. Like I said, I'm not really gonna go over them as much. Going into Saturday's game, RailCats win 4-1. Probably the more of the dominating aspect that Chris Irwin looked good as always. Second consecutive outing where he looked good. Pitched 5 1/3 inning. He only gave up 3 hits, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. Didn't give up a run. His ERA is now down to 1.69. Ben Miller came in. He pitched 1 2/3 inning. He gave up 1 hit and 1 strikeout. DJ Wilkinson came in and he pitched 2 innings, gave up 1 hit, 1 run, 1 earned, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. And I believe it was a home run from Nick Anderson. I think he's the only Salt Dog to have a home run for the Salt Dogs this year. So, I mean, another dominant, just pitching overall was really good. I know the RailCats from the 3rd inning on, or the 2nd inning, got the 3-run lead, and they just kind of held it throughout all the way until the bottom of the 9th. The solo shot, DJ Wilkinson picked himself up, looked good. Looking at the batting stats here, Woodworth went 0 for 4 with the strikeout and 1 run. He got hit by a pitch. There we go. Gio Diaz went 0 for 3, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. Jesus Mariaga went 2 for 5, 1 run, 1 strikeout. Tapia went 1 for 4. Castillo went 1 for 5. Del Valle went 3 for 4. Paulino went 1 for 4 with a run. Thomas Greeley went 0 for 4. Daniel Lingua went 2 for 1. Looking at RBIs, Mariaga and Castillo are the only ones that got RBIs in this one. Gio Diaz stole a base. Lingua got caught stealing, and then Mariaga is the only one with the extra base hit on that aspect of it. I think there was that crazy double play where it was or not the crazy double play, it was just an assist. It was the 4-3-1 again, how 2 teams pull that out in a same season in less than 10 games is amazing to me. But RailCats are just finding ways to win. We're not committing a ton of errors. We're making solid contact. We're not striking out much. I think I was listening to Salt Dogs broadcast today, and I said I think the RailCats struck out so far 50 times, but that was top 5 in the league right now. I don't know, there's only a handful of teams, but that's impressive. They're mostly getting out just via hitting the ball. And that's what you want to see, because you're going to win. Sometimes you're not going to win games hitting. Or sometimes you're not going to win games by always making contact. But your chances of winning are exceeds because you're actually putting the ball in play. And I think we saw that in the last game with Winnipeg. where we won 13-1, and I think there's a little bit of errors going on. You know, pitcher get the ball, nice little soft hand overthrow the first baseman. You know, you put the ball in play and you put in mistakes, and that's what you kind of see from that aspect of it. So game 2 is one of those. Yep, here we go. We're kind of dominate through the rest of the game, and you know, kind of go on to the next game. So looking at today's game, where the RailCats win 7-2. And it was one of those where they kind of battled back. They had the lead at the beginning of the game, and then they gave up a 2-run shot. And then after that, they found themselves in a very good spot. You know, just looking at the way the game started here for the RailCats, Woodworth gets on with a single. He steals a base. And then Diaz gets a hit. Actually, I think it was he doesn't steal a base until Diaz gets on, and then he does a double steal, and then the inevitable happens, and it was one of those like just kind of watching this happen because I felt like something was going to happen because after Diaz gets on and Woodworth steals third, this was I think after Mariaga struck out and Tapia struck out, you know, there was this kind of I feel like Woodworth is. He knows how good he is, and I think he wants to, you know, I think the league knows how good he is, and I think he's building that I just see the confidence, and he wants to be able to take over a game. And this was the interesting part. I was listening today before the game. I was mowing the lawn, and I was listening to Indie Ball Report, and they were kind of talking about the Frontier League and other leagues like that, and they said, you know, a lot of these guys push until about the All-Star break, right? Because, you know, the more you push, the more chances are that you're going to get picked up by affiliated ball. It's easier to get picked up by affiliated ball when you start off hot than vice versa, or whatever the case may be. So I just don't know if it's one of those that, you know, some of these players are pushing because they want to get to the next step, or they just want to win. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how to gauge this, but it looks like on the way I'm looking is Michael Woodworth is willing to take the game into his hand and make it, you know, make it worth something. You know, yeah, you know, technically his run's nulled in the next inning, or not at the bottom of the first, but the next inning in the bottom of the second. But I think that was a big kind of momentum shift a little bit. Kind of gives a little bit of a boost to the team and going, you know what, this is something we can work with here, right? And you know, he just looks like when he's on the base path, and I think this pitch clock, I think he figured out this pitch clock, and I think he's putting this into his game. And I think with having Woodworth and Diaz both with having speed, I mean, there was I think it was off of Diaz's other single that he had. I think it was like a hit and run kind of aspect of it. So it's one of those, like, there's a lot of hit and runs going on. Actually that may have been in the first. I think it was a hit and run that Diaz hits. It was like a soft little hit to short, but he still gets on base. So it's one of those, like, yeah, you have the speed, you make contact. I think there's a lot of hit and runs going on with these two at least. We kind of saw that a little bit later on in the game, but you know, looking through the first, after that, Mariaga, Tapia, Castillo, they all struck out. Then kind of looking here on the Saltdog side, you know, John Sheeks comes out, gets a ground out, fly out, another ground out. Nothing happening for the RailCats in the second. Nothing of too craziness. Del Valle flies out, Nova grounds out, Hernandez popped out, and then in the bottom of the second, it was one of those, like, he gets the first guy out, the second guy hits a ground ball, gets on base, and then I think he had Anderson and like in a 2-2 counter, he had 2 strikes, he just kind of put it right down the middle, and Anderson took it for a long ride. Then he just gets out with the inning. Ground out, strikeouts, that kind of stuff. Nothing too crazy going. I mean, that was it for the Saltdogs. You know, just looking at John Sheek's day, you know, having 3 strikeouts and bumping his ERA down to 5.06 is an impressive tribute on that one. But nothing too crazy in that one. Oh, Tapia did have in the 4th inning a nice little diving, kind of what he did in sorry, the cat is messing with my stuff. What he did in the last game against Winnipeg, one of those like where just nice dive, with him being a naturally throwing left-handed player, he's able to get those balls up the hole there. So he's been really good at first. I've enjoyed watching him play. Both him and Abbott switching back and forth is perfectly fine with me. I know that's probably not what we were expecting this season to come through, but sometimes competition breeds competition, and sometimes when you have competition, it breeds good teams and good players, and that's what I think Lamar Rogers is also putting himself in, is that we're having this competition because it's hard to keep people out of this, certain players out of this lineup. But like I said, that was it. Really, nothing else was really threatening. Looking here, nothing really threatened. The rest, I think the RailCats pitching staff just kind of had it in control, and it was just there. But looking at the RailCats stats here, how it kind of played out for them, there was Mariaga got himself in a little bit of a tussle sort of deal. I just call it a pick off. He kind of got picked off at first. It was like a rundown kind of situation. There was another rundown situation. I forget where it was at. I don't remember exactly where it was at. I want to say it was an inning when they were scoring the runs. I think it might have been the 3rd or the 7th. Where it was like someone was going. Oh, it was a ground ball going home. Where do I have that? Maybe I think it maybe in the 7th. I think it was in the 7th, off of Mariaga's hit. No, it was Tapia's hit, and Mariaga was on second. And it was one of those, like, Woodworth was going home. It was a soft little grounder, and the guy threw it home, and they kind of put themselves in a situation. And I think at that point, it was probably better off. I understand you want to get yourself in a rundown, but at that kind of point, you were kind of caught because they almost got put in a situation where Mariaga and Woodworth both got doubled off. At that point, you just kind of, you make your bed and you kind of go with it, because it's one of those, if they make their bed and they go with it, and Woodworth gets out at home or happens to get safe, but then they try to throw it to third and it overthrows their baseman, Mariaga scores, and who knows, Tapia could have had inside the park home run. It would have been off of throwing errors, or he would be sitting on third, or whatever the case may be. So I think it's one of those where you just kind of make your bed. Even at the same time, you could even look at the Saltdogs. Hey, just get everyone back. When I was playing and coaching and all that, it was always you want to make one throw on a rundown. Like, I get you want to get the guy out, but necessarily so in this situation, the first baseman throws home, so it would have been Panis throws home to Ramscombe, and Ramscombe just runs back Woodworth until the very last second to third, and then he throws the ball and you apply the tag. That way you only have one run, one throw. You're not throwing this back and forth, hoop-de-loopy, this kind, make it kind of simplified. Does that always happen? No, because you're trying to get the out and the next person trying to, it's just one of those. But if he goes back to third, at least he didn't advance the base. And worst case scenarios, now you have a play at home anyways, or you could double play, or, it's just one of those, like, you have a force at all bases. So it's one of those, everyone deals with it separately. But that was a big one in that one. Let's see. But Lingual in the third started off really well with a nice triple that started that third inning off to get it tied after Woodworth got the sac fly. Nothing really happening until the 5th here. Nova gets on base with a single, and then Lingual walks. Woodworth gets an RBI with a single. Diaz gets another single, and he gets an RBI, so that brought your 2 in there in the 5th inning. And then Mario got hit by a pitch, and then Tapia grounded out, which brought Diaz in, which then scored the 3 runs in that game. Hey, what are you playing with? You playing with the cord down there? Okay. But I mean, outside of that, nothing else happened there in the 5th inning. Nothing major going on in there. The 6th, 7th inning, it starts off with Woodworth getting another single, and then I think it was later on. Diaz lined out. Mario got a double, and that was that rundown situation that I was talking about earlier. And I believe Castillo drove in Mariaga, which I believe he has one. Yeah, he drove him in there in the 7th, and then we can get the 8th to open up the 8th. Nova hits his first home run of the year and the first RailCats home run of this series, which, is something else to kind of take note. I thought this team would hit a lot more home runs. They really haven't, which is, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I think the way baseball is being played now, you're not trying to strike out, or the chances of you getting on base and scoring runs are a lot higher now. I just think it's just one of those, and it's still early on the season. Like the pitchers still kind of have the dominance over the hitters. What's going to be interesting to see when we get into middle to late June, what pops off. But hey, we're winning games. I'll take hitting no home runs and winning games versus hitting all the home runs in the world and not winning a single game. So I'll take either or on that aspect of it. So looking at the pitching stat here, John Sheeks went 6 innings, gave up 5 hits, 2 runs, both earned, 3 strikeouts. Aaron Phillips came in, pitched 1 inning, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. Jack Eisenberger came in, 1 inning, 1 strikeout. Matt Leon, however you want to put it, pitched 1 inning and 1 strikeout. Looking at the batting stats here, Woodworth went 3 for 4, 2 runs, 2 RBIs. Gio Diaz had 2 hits at 5 at bats, 1 RBI. And Mariaga went 1 for 3 with 1 run, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. Tapia went 0 for 5 with an RBI and 2 strikeouts. Castillo went 1 for 5, 1 run and 2 strikeouts, which now leads Castillo is now on like a 10-game hitting streak or 9-game hitting streak. He moved on with that aspect of, so he's gotten a hit in every single game so far. Del Valle went 0 for 4. Nova went 2 for 4 with 2 runs, 1 RBI, 1 strikeout. Marco Hernandez went 1 for 4, and Daniel Langlois went 1 for 2, 2 runs, 2 walks, no strikeouts. So that the RailCats are 6-3 at the end of this point. That's all we got. That's good to see. We want to win these series. Now we go on to the next, and just looking right now at the scoreboard. I want the the standings as it stands. I think most of all games are final now. The Railroaders are 7-3, and they are at the top of the division. Dogs and Cats, RailCats, are just a half game back, so they're technically tied for second. Milkmen are 4-4. They take that final 4 spot, and then Lake Country and King County are at the bottom of the standings in the East, and the RailCats face one of those bottom teams in the standings the next series against the Lake Country Dockhounds. Like I said, looking at Lake Country, they are just now coming off of a series with Winnipeg. They only have 2 wins on the year, 1 against Sioux City and 1 against Winnipeg. So they faced Milwaukee twice, but the 1 game got postponed, so we really don't know how that one wrapped up. But looking at Lake Country, Milwaukee and Sioux City are 2 of the top teams in respective leagues, and they battled Milwaukee. They got just looking at it against Milwaukee, they lost 17-4, then 3-0. Looking into Sioux City, they lost 3-0 or 3-1 or 1-3. And then they turned around and beat them 14-6, and then lost 1-2, and then Winnipeg beat them 4-10. Then 1-7, and then today's game they won. Lake Country won 7-4. I really don't know how to judge this team. They're going to play the RailCats hard. I don't think that's an issue. I just don't know if it's one of those where the culture is there for them, where they're going to, maybe fight in the games, but I just don't think they have that talent level yet. I think they're kind of a flip of what the RailCats were a little bit last year. I think the RailCats were a better roster than Lake Country was last year, but I think it's just one of those that they just don't have the necessary talent. So it's one of those they're going to see the RailCats in Wisconsin Brewing. What is it? Wisconsin Brewing Company Park. It's going to be interesting to see how that's all going to wrap up there. Like I said, it should be another 2-3. Really, I'm looking at it. This should be a sweep. I'm not going to say it's going to be a sweep, but it should be. Just, with what we've had, with the rotations coming around. Well, we're on John Sheik, so then we saw Cuello, Edwards, or Cuello, Francis, Irwin, then Sheik. So they're probably going to see Julio, then back to Cuello, and then Francis. Is what we're looking at here. It's going to be very winnable. If the pitching holds, these should be very winnable games for the RailCats. So I'm not really sure who we're going to see from Lake Country. The past 3 pitchers have been Connor Fisk, Alex Murray, and Tyler Price. So there isn't a consistent 5-man rotation. So I'm not 100% positive who we're going to see out of them. But looking just at some of their stats, their highest hitter is batting a .333. That's Austin Edler. Most hits is going to be from Nick Bates. Looking at RBI's producer is going to be Jax Groshans. Home run leader with 2 is Jax Groshans. So I'm not 100% positive. Looking at their averages, you got 3 people up in the Edler, I'm going to kind of take out of that because he's only played in 2 games, so I'm going to give it the top hitter to Demetrius Sims, who is batting a .321 right now for them. But I mean, outside of that, I'm not highly impressed yet. So it's one of those that this is a very winnable series. Now, I don't think this is something the RailCats just take lightly. They need to keep winning. This is a very tough division that they're in. As we see, just looking at the division standing itself, like everyone is so close right here. You know what I'm saying? The Railroaders are 7-3, and that's why they're first place in the division right now, and it's very tight. We were probably expecting more from Kane County, but they haven't gotten off to a hot start. Like Country really hasn't. Milwaukee's not too crazy, but still early in the season. You haven't really looked at the teams they played, and like I said, I'm not saying the RailCats haven't really faced top talent yet. I think we will kind of see that talent looking past. I mean, even right now with King County not doing so very well, I don't even know that. I mean, you may see the actual hard part of the schedule to see really where the RailCats are going to line up, not until we see Milwaukee on the 29th, which is the doubleheader on Memorial Day. So that may be the deciding factor. Where are we grading this team at? Depending on what they comes through. I mean, these next 2 series for the RailCats could really boost them into some gaining some ground here. Just if the offense stays consistent and does what it needs to do, I don't see why you couldn't potentially go on for a 6-game win streak. It's possible. It's very possible to sit there and say, you know what? Just looking at the way the season has started, the RailCats have that potential, and I don't think that's something that I don't think coming into the season this was a possibility, but I don't think we were going to make it a reality yet. So just looking at it, that big possibility to really gain some of that ground, because if we can really gain some ground, looking past Milwaukee to Sioux Falls, but the Cleveland series is coming up. I mean, those are going to be the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games that are going to be important for the RailCats to come out and win. This is when we get to this portion of the schedule. This is what we're going to see, and this is what kind of flipped the switch last year. That series kind of made the decision for the RailCats. I'm gonna have probably gonna have a whole podcast dedicated to that pregame, that preview of that series, because just going to go back and looking at the series in general from last year to this year and how both teams are doing and that kind of stuff. So that's going to be an interesting one. But yeah, RailCats had a really good series, really past couple season, really good season, I should say. It has really been doing well for them this year. So that's going to wrap it up for me. I'm going to start working on getting some of those the highlight videos out there. Just really haven't had the time to do it necessarily. So I'm trying to work on it. It's just not a matter of really cutting it up, throwing it. It takes a minute to get the process going. So if you're enjoying those, please leave a like. If you're enjoying the podcast, please leave a like. If you're enjoying the RailCast season, you might as well just hit the like button after that. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for me. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, rest of your evening. Whenever you're watching this, make sure to follow the podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Spotify, all that good stuff. Yeah, that's gonna do it for me. And I know I totally backwards up how I normally do it, but sometimes things get backwards. So as always, go Cats.
The 0-2. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Wrap this one up in green and white.